Faking it until you make it might not be a great strategy. Hear that again. Faking it until you make it might not be a good strategy. You know, a lot of times you'll hear people emphasize the importance of faking it until you make it, right? Look the part, act the part, all of that with the intentions of faking it long enough until you get to a point in which that thing comes into reality. It's not about faking it and hiding who you are. It's about constructing a belief system around who you are, one, and the direction that you're headed. It's the belief system, it's not faking it. And the reason I want to jump into the notion of how dangerous or destructive it is to fake it until you make it. Again, faking it is different from formulating a belief system. Faking it is I'm trying to fool someone, I'm trying to hide or conceal something. I was listening to the Modern Wisdom podcast, and they had a brother named Chase Hughes on the show, and he does all this psyop, communication and mindset and really understanding what's being said behind the scenes, etc., and how people are being manipulated and hypnotized and all of this kind of stuff. And one of the things that he talks about is the fact that, when you conceal something, concealing something is more mentally taxing than doing calculus. I want you to hear the quote here by Chase Hughes from the Modern Wisdom podcast, and then we'll come back and talk about it a little bit, okay?
Human behavior. Concealment is more mentally taxing than doing calculus. Like just trying to act like you've got your shit together in a social situation, like faking it hard is harder than calculus to our brains. So
faking it or trying to conceal something is more mentally taxing than doing calculus. You ever thought about like when you were a kid and you were trying to get away with something, and so you were trying to contrive this whole scenario or build up this lie so you can tell your parents to potentially avoid getting in trouble? And it's funny to hear him use that example, because now I think back to when I'm 8, 9, 10 years old, and I'm thinking I'm coming up with this story that's going to be so bulletproof that I'm going to get away with it. But it took so much mental bandwidth for me to contrive that story to try to get away with whatever infraction, I had or whatnot, and to try to keep from getting in trouble with my parents. It was like it took so much mental bandwidth versus me just telling the truth and just accepting the punishment is easy, and you just get done with it. But now when you tell a lie or you try to conceal something, you now create this, natural need to keep that story going. So now it's like everything you think about has to align with that lie that you told, or has to align with that false, narrative that you're putting out there. Right? It's like you have to spend so much mental bandwidth trying to cover your tracks with the hopes of someone not deep diving and going into your background to figure that thing out. But the thing is, mentally, like he mentioned, it's more taxing to conceal something than it is to do calculus. So I'm like, how many of us are struggling with overwhelm right now because we're trying to protect something? We're trying to hold on to something. We're trying to keep a narrative going that we know is not the truth. Think about that. If this theory is true about how mentally taxing it is to conceal something, how many of us are not operating at our full potential because we're trying to keep this narrative up? We want people to know of us as this thing. We want to be thought of as this thing. We want to keep the reputation of being this thing. Yeah, the Bible talks about, a good reputation is worth more than riches, right? But A reputation that's good, but is not real, has no value because eventually that bubble will pop. The real you will show up. You can only conceal for so long. I know others will disagree and think that, oh, no, somebody got away with this for decades or centuries or years, etc. Yeah, there are people who have gotten away with lots of things, but that doesn't mean that at some point it doesn't still get found out. And you don't have to, you don't know the turmoil that that person had inside of them, right? Trying to keep up this lie or keep up this narrative. See, we have to be careful with what we see publicly because what we see publicly sometimes is a facade. Sometimes it's a show. Sometimes this thing has been well coached, well rehearsed, and this is a coordinated effort to present something to the public that they can run with or they can potentially believe. But the reality is, when those cameras go off, the question is, does that person who is making that presentation actually believe the things that they're saying? And you may not ever know, but the question then I would ask would be, how much is knowing that you're creating a false narrative, telling a lie, concealing something, how much is that eating you up from the inside out? How many of us are struggling with, physical calamities? And the reality is those physical calamities are a manifestation of something is eating us up from the inside out because we've been concealing something versus leaning into who we were uniquely and wonderfully created to be and allowing that to be our narrative. The identity that's inside of you doesn't need to be hidden. The Bible talks about you don't take a light and put it under a pot, or you put it up on a lampstand. You want that light to be shining to then illuminate the steps that people can take so that they can see in the dark. You don't light something up and then cover it up, right? So that thing inside of you, we don't need to cover it up. And yes, we're all imperfect. Anybody who tells you that they are not perfect, run as fast and as far away from them as you can, right? If they try to tell you that they're perfect, get away because they're telling a story. That's something I want you to be mindful of. We are all imperfect. And what's so fascinating, when you connect with people from different walks of life, from different socioeconomic classes that have different lifestyles, from different countries that have different ethnic and religious backgrounds, you come to realize that people who the world might think have it all together, in some area of their life, they're struggling. They might not be struggling financially. They might not be struggling when it comes to their family or whatever, but in some area, some aspect of their life, they struggle. And it's good for people to understand that because people are people. We have different levels of wealth and access and family structures, etc., but we're still people, meaning we are imperfect, and that's okay. Because once you understand that the person sitting to your left and to your right are both very imperfect and struggling with something just like you are, it gives you the freedom to say, I'm not concealing anymore. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to live the truth that has been placed inside of me. And if I make mistakes, I'll apologize for them. If I screw up, I'm going to do my best to fix it. If I say something that's not good, I want to apologize for it, right? But I know that those things happen, but that is not an indictment on me. That is an understanding that I'm human like the next person. So that being said, I'm going to challenge everyone listening to this video, listening to this message, to stop concealing. Take the mask off. Just release who you truly are. And there's another side to this. The moment that you stop concealing and you really accept who you are, the good, the bad, the ups, the downs, etc., because the things that you maybe aren't proud of are parts of your story that give your life texture. It also gives you the capacity to connect with other imperfect people, okay? That's there. But the thing is, I'm going to challenge everyone listening to this to figure out what in their life they are concealing and find a way to own that narrative. Because the thing is, well, let me sidebar. That doesn't mean that you just go out and just open your life up and tell the world every minute detail about your life. It's not about that. It's just the notion of when I walk out this door every day, am I hiding who I really am? If you're doing that, I'm going to ask you to stop, because who you were made to be is enough. No matter how challenged your scenario, your circumstances are, you are enough. You were created as enough. You just have to accept it, and you have to take back the narrative. Because the moment that you own your narrative is the moment that your narrative can no longer be owned by someone else. And when someone else owns your narrative, they can then use it at their liberty. When you own your narrative, you have the capacity to use it at your liberty. And then at that point, your narrative can't be used against you because you're the one giving it. Think about this. You can't steal something from me that I gave to you. You're not getting over on me if I gave it to you. You can tell yourself whatever story you want about my narrative, my story, challenges, ups, downs, etc. But at the end of the day, I'm giving that to you. You didn't steal it. So therefore, there's a sense of peace in me walking with my head up, knowing that I'm imperfect. I screw up. I say or do the wrong thing sometime. And if I have done that or wronged someone, my goal is that I can make amends for that, and not do it again. But at the end of the day, we're all imperfect. There's no need to conceal, because like Chase Hughes mentioned from the Modern Wisdom podcast, he said concealing or concealment is more mentally taxing than doing calculus. Let that sit in you for a little bit. And then I want you to think about what in your life are you concealing that you need to stop concealing so that you can fully be who you were called to be. Maybe that is the unlock that you need right now. All right. Well, hey, y'all go be the quarterback of your mindset. Remember, your mindset is the operating system that really conducts how you move, how you live, what you do, right? And your mindset revolves around 5 components: your beliefs, experiences, relationships, your perceptions, and your perspectives. Okay. Those 5 things are the components to your mindset. Go be the quarterback of your mindset. And in the meantime, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.